Our next speaker is joining us via a recorded video, and that's Carmen Lima. Carmen is from Portugal. Let me tell you just a bit about her before she shares with us. Carmen has a degree in environmental engineering with a specialization in environmental management. She has a postgraduate degree in sustainable construction, a master's degree in sustainable planning and construction, and she's currently a PhD student in environmental engineering, researching the issue of asbestos. So she certainly has a great mind for what's going on. She is actually the founder and a director of an organization in Portugal dealing with asbestos and the concerns around asbestos. And I hope that we have her video almost ready.
I would like to thank Linda for the amazing work she has been done in the United States. Her history, her experience, and her mission to ban asbestos in the United States is an example for all of us. We are here together to learn with each other, to share our work, to give what we have, and to be a global ban asbestos family. It is very important to me and to SOS Asbestos to be at the ADAO 16th Annual International Asbestos Awareness and Prevention Conference, so we appreciate the invitation. Since 2003, I have followed the issue of asbestos through public participation to legislate on the subject, promotion of the debate and awareness concerning various public bodies on the need to carry out the diagnostic of public and private buildings and other infrastructures containing asbestos. My name is Carmen Lima. I am an environmental engineer specialized in environmental management and sustainable construction. I am a PhD student in environmental engineering researching in the issue of asbestos. I am the founder and the coordinator of SOS Asbestos, the Portuguese Association Against Asbestos, the first group in Portugal dedicated to support asbestos victims' relatives, other people that need information on asbestos, or other related issue about sustainable way to remove materials and manage asbestos-containing materials. The SOS Asbestos is committed to promote the protection and prevention of exposure to asbestos and its eradication through the total removal of this contaminating in public and private buildings, infrastructures, and equipment in Portugal. More than 60 countries have already banned asbestos, and half of these countries belongs to European Union. But doesn't mean that we have no more a problem. Europe and European Commission members such as Portugal continues to have the need to control the entries of asbestos incorporated in materials for construction and other sectors from countries such as China. On the other hand, we have problems associated with the asbestos that has installed in materials and equipment in public and private buildings or infrastructures. In 2014, I have been invited to present the Portuguese situation with other European Commission members in European Economic and Social Committee. And in 2015, this organization published an opinion that came to present asbestos as a priority issue in Europe. Last year, the European Parliament sent to the European Commission a proposal to analyze the possibility to obligate the member states to define rules to protect the workers against asbestos. This proposal defines 6 different goals: the European strategy to remove all the asbestos, a European framework directive to protect the asbestos exposure workers, a European directive to remove to define all the remove strategies, recognize the asbestos-related disease and compensation for this disease, the asbestos screen prior to carrying out energy renovation works and selling or retenting a building, and define the Union as a world leader against asbestos. The European Parliament considers a prior diagnosis to be fundamental, as well as other important aspects that should be considered a priority. The numbers in Portugal are less expressive than the other European countries, but we believe they are far from the reality. In relation to workers, 98% of occupational disease are not reported, so that only 2% of disease caused by exposure to asbestos are considered as an occupational disease. Besides, there are different parameters for the characterization of occupational disease in the European Union, which leads to the same disease that can be marked in one country and not in another. In Portugal, the official numbers are low. There are many mesotheliomas that are misdiagnosed, lung cancers caused by exposure to asbestos that are not quantified. Only 36 deaths per year are from mesothelioma. 500 of 578 schools with asbestos were identified, and in this identification, only asbestos covering were flagged. This misdiagnosis provoked a popular pressure that results in the implementation of a program in Portugal with the name of Eradicate Asbestos in School. This program was applied with the modernization works for Portuguese schools and only remove asbestos in 2,000 schools. Portugal has now started to take the first steps to manage asbestos. First, we define legislation. One, to protect the workers from asbestos exposure, the other to regulate the removal market, and another to define the criteria to waste containing asbestos. This legislation isn't the best tool and doesn't have the best practice or the best protection incorporated in the criteria, so the results are not the best one compared to the other countries in Europe, such as France, Poland, Netherlands, or Germany. Currently, in companies in Portugal, those who remove asbestos does not need a license or a professional portfolio or any certification. It promotes non-compliance situations, lack of accuracy, and protections on asbestos removals. We have worked a lot with the unions to pressure the Portuguese government to give the importance to this issue, but not all our requests have been accepted so far. A survey of public buildings containing asbestos was carried out and published. The actions are underway to remove asbestos for several buildings, and the obligations to identify the asbestos in private buildings are also defined. Similar to the COVID-19 phase, when real experts in pandemics, infections, disease, or public health without a single degree in medicine parodied through traditional media or social networks. Here, also several pseudo-experts in asbestos have appeared. The Portuguese population was terrified by the existence of asbestos coverings in schools and starts a movement of parents demanding the fast removal. We had a lot of actions in the schools, and SOS Asbestos have organized someone to pass all the need information for the parents. There was no clarification on the other schools and no information about the works that will be done. Asbestos removals in schools in Portugal was not carried out by a single company, national or international, with certification. And in many cases, the fiber cement was removed while the school was running during the night or even on weekends. The school was reoccupied with an ensuring that the WHO requirements to classify it as a clean area. The protection suits worn by the workers, which must be replaced every 3 hours, were used in the removal for days in a row. The projected owners, like City Hall, did not even know about those health protection rules or good practices that should be implemented in this type of intervention. Actions to mitigate and eliminate occupational and environmental exposures and in schools removal program was a miscommunications for parents and schools professionals and a responsibility in communication a message that may not correspond to the truth because nobody knows in Portuguese schools if there are now free from asbestos, not even the ones that were interventional. Initially, the topic was treated from the perspective of legal compliance, but it was quickly realized that this topic caused anxiety and in the population and can have a strong impact on their lives. So it could be a good topic to adopt by the politicians and their movements. Intervening all the schools without exception, it is really a priority, but this intervention will have to be carried out with the aim of removing asbestos completely, carrying out with rigor, seriously, and with scrupulous compliance with the technical criteria in order to prevent the health and all those involved. Planning work and approaching asbestos from sustainable perspective is important. The European Ecological Pact itself stabilizes rules for a new wave of renovation of the community buildings and define rules to trigger this renovation was based on the promotion of energy efficiency in millions of buildings in the European Union where asbestos fiber can be found. Portugal have a lot work to be done. Despite the terrible examples we have had in terms of bed removal, we had also good causes where we can present as a good example. The removal of asbestos from the carriage that Portugal bought from Spain, in which SOS Asbestos followed and pressed for it to be done by the book. It was a story of a sustainable and compliance with health protection requirements for workers and future users of these trains. Another good example was the Funchal vessel, a historic ship that was bought by American investors and that contained more than 70 tons of asbestos, the blue asbestos. The work was accompanied by me within the scope of my PhD and monitored during 6 months of work. Of the three factors that are used asbestos to produce fiber cement products, Cimianto is the only one that is as it was on the last day it worked. I carry out its diagnosis, an impressive experience, and I am waiting for European funding for its discontamination. Despite the ban on asbestos, Portugal has got a lot of work to be done. We need to update Portuguese legislation and standards to the European average. It takes a lot of focus to prepare this team on the following challenge: create tools to license companies and enable workers, define a Portuguese strategy for asbestos, train and sensitize the actors, managers, architects, and engineers, workers from all sectors that come into contact with asbestos, politicians, and journalists, create better rules for asbestos removal and worker protection, update measures to protect and prevent works, healthily apply the best practices in the management of waste containing asbestos for all. We have to work together to achieve quite results. Thank you very much. Please feel free to contact me if you need some information and some more things about the situation of Portugal. Thank you, Linda, and good work for all of us.
Our thanks to Carmen for a great presentation on the situation in Portugal, which is, I don't know about the rest of you, was surprising to me at some of the things that are occurring there, or not occurring there, as the case may be.